Okay, today we're going to do a video on inline muzzleloaders. Now this is one of my inline muzzleloaders. Head 3. I've got all sorts of different muzzleloaders. I have percussion cap, I have flintlock, and then this is what's referred to as an inline muzzleloader. Now recently I just shot a deer with this in our early muzzleloading season in PA. We have an antlerless season where it is legal to use inline muzzleloader. In our late, we're one of the holdouts. In our late muzzleloader seasons, we are only allowed to use a flintlock. Has to be 45 caliber or larger, 44 caliber or larger, and it has to shoot a patch round ball. But it has to be a design of rifle of the flintlock period, or a reproduction of a flintlock rifle. I have killed deer with a flintlock rifle, and it's quite challenging to do that, especially in the harsh weather conditions that we have in the late season. Now we can also use these guns in the general firearm season, at least here. You have to check your state regulation as to what's allowed and what's not allowed in your state, because every state is different. But I can use this in the general firearm season, and I have. I mean, it's got a pretty effective range on it. I would say it's at least equivalent to a decent, like a rifle barrel shotgun shooting slugs. It hits with quite a whack, but it's only good over short range because black powder doesn't have the same pressure as you shoot with smokeless powder, and of course you can never shoot smokeless powder in a muzzleloader. It's not designed for that. There were a couple of exceptions, but those are few and far between. Rifles that had actions designed to take smokeless powder, they experimented with that, but it never really worked. But these rifles will shoot black powder. They'll shoot black powder substitutes like Pyrodex. I like the Pyrodex. 777 is another one that's a black powder substitute. White Hot is another one. So it looks like a modern rifle, but it's not. This is a pretty good one. It's an older one. It's a CVA Kodiak. Now they have all sorts of different. They have electric charge inline muzzleloaders, and all sorts of technology, evolution. But this one uses, like most inlines, it uses a shotgun primer for ignition. So what it is, it's a closed breech rifle. There's no. I had the breech plug out of this, but because I'm going to show it to you, but the action closes at the back, so it's hammer. There's a hammer. So to shoot, all you got to do is cock the hammer back and then pull the trigger, and it will fire. Of course, it only holds one shot. It's not multi-barreled. You can see here the ramrod underneath it. It's got fiber optic sights on it. I have a scope mounted on this one. I think it's a 10 power, is it? Yeah. 4 to 10, so it's pretty decent zoom, and it's mil-dot. And I also have it that it's diopter adjustable, so I can focus the range. I find since I've started wearing glasses that's very useful for me to focus and focus and not have to shoot with my glasses. I can use the scope to focus on my target. But I have a bipod on here. Now I have a long bipod on here because I actually use this gun quite a bit for hunting from the ground, not just from tree stands, although I have hunted from tree stands with it too, but I do a lot of hunting with this from the ground, either ground sitting or spot and stalk. I really enjoy spot and stalking with this. It gives me a little bit more range than my bow or my crossbow. You can hit a target, like I said, 150 yards, a deer is not safe with this rifle, as long as you have a steady rest. The thing with muzzleloaders is the trajectory. Like I said, it shoots quite a heavy bullet. It is a slow burning powder, but you can shoot them out to 250 yards. I do have another one of these that's 45 caliber, which shoots quite flat and shoots quite fast, but it's a lighter projectile then as well. So for whitetail though, it's plenty. 45 caliber bullet is plenty. in this particular rifle, it is a Magnum. This is a Kodiak rifle. It's made by CVA. It has a Bergara barrel on it, which is one of the high-end barrel. As you can see, it's stainless steel. It's got a full synthetic stock, so it's not affected by the weather or anything like that. So it uses the 209 ignition. So there you can see if you can see it in the light. The shotgun primer. Maybe I'll hold it under the light right there. So if you reload shotguns, you'll know what that's like. Here's a whole tray of them. You can see this is a Remington, a clean bore muzzleloading primers. So they have them that they're actually specifically designed for inline muzzleloaders. This is the breech plug for the rifle. So this screws into the back here. So I was cleaning this, so that's why I have it all apart. So when you reassemble it, you would want to put grease back on that before you put it back in the barrel, because if you shoot a couple of rounds through it and you don't have this greased, you won't be able to get it back out. But you can see the hole in the back. This is where your percussion cap will go, or your shotgun primer, which you're using as a percussion cap. So this will be in the end of your barrel, and then primer goes in there, and then that's what ignites the black powder, which sits on the other side of that tiny little pinhole. It's a tiny little, I don't know where you can see it, can't get it in the light, but there's a tiny little pinhole in there that the fire comes through. So instead of, you can shoot granular powder in this from a powder measure, but I shoot the pre-compressed pellets. I'll put them on my hand there, you can see them. So each one of these are 50 grains of by volume, not by weight. It's 50 grains by volume of Pyrex powder in a pre-compressed pellet. So 2 of these will be 100 grains, and then this rifle is capable of shooting 3 of these pellets for 150 grains, which would be a magnum load. You don't really need that for whitetail unless you're shooting very long range or at your maximum range. But you can also use loads like that for bear or moose or elk or any of those larger, really large, big game animals. You can see that there's a hole in the powder as well, so it channels the fire through the center of it, so it ignites it pretty quickly. These are also capped. You'll see there's a dark side on the Pyrex pellets. They're actually capped with black powder, regular black powder. Now, to sell black powder, any store that sells black powder has to have a license to handle an explosive, basically. So unless you go to like Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's, or it's getting much harder to buy black powder. You used to be able to buy it at Walmart, and now you can't do that. They don't license it. So you would have to go to a firearms store usually, or somebody who sells black powder guns and pistols. Regular black powder is tough to buy. This powder is no different to regular black powder in the fact that if it gets wet, it is completely useless. It will not fire. I've had many instances of that. That's why I went to a closed breech rifle. I had an open breech rifle before where the bolt was exposed. It was a bolt action, and if it rained really hard and it got wet, it wouldn't go off, even with the 209 primer. And there was been quite a few times where I had a deer come out, of course, after it stopped raining, and went to pull the trigger, and all I got was the bang of the primer, and that was it. The deer looked at me like a fool, and then off they went. But the Pyrex, it's also dirty like black powder. 1 or 2 rounds through this rifle, and I would say you could shoot this more than regular black powder. My flintlock rifle, if I get 2 rounds through it, I have to clean it before I can reload it. Now I have a 54 caliber Hawken, so I shoot quite a heavy load in that. It's 100 grains of powder I shoot. With this, you can shoot 5 or 6 shots through it, and then you'll have to clean it before you'll be able to get the bullet down it. It does load really easy. The evolution of bullets here, I held it under the light, you'll be able to see it. That's a 50 caliber round ball. So it's a .490 round ball for a muzzle, like a regular flintlock muzzle loader. So the barrel on this gun is not designed to shoot a round ball like that. The twist on this is 1 in 28, whereas the twist in a flintlock rifle is much quicker. It's a 1 in 66, 1 in 67, something like that. So this will not shoot a patch round ball very well. So next up we have, this is a conical bullet. I'm going to bring it closer, you might be able to see it. There you go. So that's a conical bullet. It's a kind of a hybrid. You can see the back of it is cupped, it's hollow. So what happens is when the fire goes off behind it, it actually spreads out the skirt, and the skirt is what seals the bullet in the barrel, and that's what gives it its propulsion. So it's got, that's why it has the dome in the back. So I think some of the Civil War rifles probably used bullets like this. So then they also have, I don't have any here, but they have a sabot bullet as well, where they would use a handgun bullet like this, a large caliber handgun bullet. This is a 45 caliber handgun bullet with a flat nose on it. And then what they would do is they would have that encased in plastic in a sabot, and then they would load that whole thing down into the barrel. So when you shoot, it's almost like a shotgun wad that goes around the bullet. But when you shoot it, the sabot peels off of it, and then this bullet goes towards your deer. So it's a regular 45 caliber handgun bullet. But this is underbore. So my rifle here, this rifle is 50 caliber. And like I said, I have a 45 caliber one too, which is the full size of the bore, and I have a flintlock in 54 caliber, so that's bigger than this again. But there you can see there's the patched round ball. It's just literally a pumpkin ball, like my buddy here. So that's for the flintlock. Then like I said, the conical was the next version of that, which is heavy. This is, I think that's a 490 grain conical, but this is for my flintlock also. So that's pretty heavy. This is a 300 grain 45 caliber bullet for my 454 Casull handgun bullet. So this is what I shoot out of this rifle. This is what's called a power belt. So what it is, it's kind of a hybrid. It's a skirted bullet. It's a full bore bullet. I'll hold it up close, maybe you can see. I don't know if you can see it in the light or not, but there you go. So what it is, it's a hollow point. This is a 300 grain. It's a copper jacketed lead projectile. Now this little green skirt on the bottom of it is the gas seal. So when the ignition goes off behind it, it pushes against this little skirt, and then the skirt opens up, and that's what seals the bullet all the way down the barrel as it exits. And then soon after it exits the barrel, this little skirt pops off, and then the bullet continues on its way. Now I had some of these that I recovered from deer that I had shot. A lot of times they will go through because, like I said, it's quite heavy. So if I shoot them relatively close, it's just going in and out. But I have had some that I've recovered from the deer after I harvested them, and this bullet is flattened like somebody smashed it with a hammer, and it's 50 caliber here, but it's almost an inch across. It almost doubled in size, like a mushroom, from the hollow point. So it's quite a devastating hit. It does quite a bit of damage to the deer, that's for sure. But it's a pretty clever design, and it, like I said, I like it because it loads really easily. You can just slip that right down the barrel. There's no fighting it down. When you're loading a patched round ball in a flintlock, it is quite tight because that's what's giving you your seal. So when you push the projectile down, it is really, really hard. On some rifles, it depends. You have to experiment with the width of your patch compared to the width of your ball, compared to the actual diameter of your barrel. So the patch is a certain width, the ball is a certain width, and the barrel is a certain width. So if you have an interference fit, it's really, really tight to push that projectile down the barrel. These load really easy, it just pushes right down. So to get our second reload into it, you can load it quite quickly if you need to get a second shot. And I've had that where I've used a follow-up shot hunting deer on the ground, where I took a shot at one, I missed it just under the belly at about 140 yards, and it actually ran towards me. It was confused and it didn't realize where the shot had come from, and it ran down the edge of the field and actually came closer to me. And then I had reloaded it really quickly, and then I made a second shot on the deer and I dropped it right in its tracks. So sometimes with a muzzleloader, like I said, with that one shot, sometimes a quick follow-up shot is the difference between you getting that deer and not getting the deer. But I thought I'd go over it a little bit and, you know, explain a little bit about it. Shooting it is just like shooting a rifle, but you do have a big puff of smoke when you shoot it. So it can be quite difficult to see if you hit the animal that you're aiming at or not, and like immediately. Especially when you're shooting like early morning, evening when it's cold, that smoke tends to hang, or you know, it tends to hang around. So it makes it quite difficult to, you know, sometimes to see the animal. But I do enjoy hunting with muzzleloaders. There's a bit involved in it. It's like anything else. It's like fine-tuning a long range rifle. You kind of have to try different loads with different projectiles and see which one is best suited for your gun. But there are seasons or you know, over the whole country for them pretty much now. Some seasons are a little more liberal in other states than here. Like I said, I can use it in the general firearms, I can use it in the early muzzleloader season, but I can't use it in the late muzzleloader season. That's flintlock only. And that's fine, I don't mind that. But yeah, that's a little something a little different. And I have other videos on flintlocks that I had done quite a few seasons ago now. So if you need to know something about a flintlock, if you look in my play history from quite a while back, I've done a full videos on loading, shooting, and cleaning your black powder rifle. With black powder or Pyrex powder, it's very important to clean your rifle as soon as you can. I actually have a little bag on the little pouch on the rifle here that I have a field cleaning kit in it. So I have spare browns in it. I also have a T-handle for my ramrod. I have a T-handle for the ramrod. So after I shoot it in the field, I can swab a couple of patches down and to, you know, kind of clean my barrel out. The issue with black powder and Pyrex powder is it's very corrosive. So if you don't clean it relatively quickly, if you leave it sit on the rifle for a couple of days, if the rifle is not stainless steel, if it's a regular blued steel barrel, it will start to corrode. Black powder is also hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture from the atmosphere, and it will rust your rifle, rust your action, you know, really, really quick. So it's best to clean it. I know if you harvest a deer, there's a lot of work involved in, you know, dragging the deer out, you know, tagging the deer, dragging the deer, field dressing the deer, and then if you know, processing it yourself, you've got to butcher the deer and everything. There's a lot of work involved in that, especially with bigger animals like moose and elk. You know, it could take you 2 days, 3 days of work to you know, butcher down an animal like that. But you want to, you know, at least give your rifle a field cleaning before you get to thoroughly clean it, you know, after you shoot it. But if you haven't tried one, I would definitely recommend, you know, giving them a go. Some people like them, some people don't. It's like everything else. Some guys, you know, like to stick to more traditional muzzle loaders. This is pretty much a modern muzzle loader, although like I said, now they have ones that use pre-charged cartridges and, you know, electronic ignition and everything on them. It's like some crazy stuff, but I enjoy shooting, I enjoy hunting with it. It's just another opportunity for me to fill my freezer, you know, because like I said, it's not a rifle. You're not going to kill deer at rifle ranges with it. It's not a rifle. It looks like a rifle, but you have to remember that the limitations you have with your projectile and your powder, your trajectory. It's much more like akin to shooting a slug gun, like I said. Although some of the slug guns now, if you use like some of the Hornady slugs and stuff in full rifle 12 gauge barrels or 20 gauges even. They're quite accurate out to 100, 150 yards. You know, you can shoot decent groups with them. But yeah, I like it, and I thought I'd do a little video on it. I didn't do much videos on my inline. Like I said, I did with the flintlock. So this is to explain to for a buddy of mine, Eddie, back in Ireland. He wanted to see a little bit more information about it, so I thought I'd put this video together and show it, you know, what it shoots, the powders it shoots, the type of ignition it uses, the projectile, and explain a little bit about how it works. So yeah, trapping season is here now. This weekend was the start of trapping season. Didn't get any traps out. I had to butcher deer, so that's not a bad thing. I usually like to wait a little bit too. I have set traps on opening day before, but this year it is quite warm, even for October. The weather conditions are quite warm, so I'm going to wait a little bit, but hopefully we'll get out trapping. Still got a buck tag yet, so go out and try and fill that as well. So happy Halloween, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.